Here was some of the competitors.
Can you remind us what your project is all about?
Oh, yeah. I was gonna do like an events planning app for
Okay.
children.
Yep, I remember.
And
Okay.
then there was also gonna be a spot for their calendar and a spot for organizers to place their stuff.
Can you hear Alex okay, James? Okay. I'm going to move back here just so.
There were some of the competitors I found. I used this Palaroo or whatever. It was for, I know like when I went down to Mardi Gras, they had like all their event stuff planned on there. And then I found one called Eventbrite, which is the second one down there. And then there was another one. And there's some of my gorgeous wireframes. But I still have to add a few more in that I have sketched out. I just haven't put it into it. I haven't digitalized it yet.
Okay. Do you guys have any comments?
What was the general gist of this? It's events of a city or events of an organization?
It's going to be like an event app for children, like children's events for parents and like grandparents or guardians or whoever wants to take children out to like the local carnival, or during Halloween it would have like all of the, you know, places that are doing trick-or-treating apps or whatever.
So is this user-based or is this consumer-based where they actually post on here? And is it localized? Like, do you type in your zip code or how does that work?
Well, I haven't put it on there, but there's going to be two different spots. Like one's going to be for the organizers and one's going to be for like parents or grandparents or whatever. And then the organizers are going to be able to put their events on there, as well as see like statistics of how many people clicked on it, how many people have, you know, favorited or put it on their calendar.
And it's local. Like if I go to use this app, I type in my zip code and it'll show me all the events within like a 20-mile radius or something.
Yeah, it'll be local and they'll be able to change it, but I haven't been able to put the little, you know, change bar and miles on there. Yeah, because I was gonna have that hooked to the top right here, or that little thingy, click button. And then I was gonna show it having, you know, you could change the mileage of if you want to go like 50 miles out or 100 miles per event or whatever you feel. But I haven't had that part yet.
Alex, first, you've got a good start. With your, just a reminder, the comparison apps, you need to list the pros and cons for each one of them.
I haven't done that part. That's
okay.
I just have them up there just so I know.
Yes, but I think it's going to influence what you decide to do going further, because you'll see some things as you play with them that are crappy or that you really like.
I've been studying a little bit.
Good.
And that's kind of where I got the ideas of some of the wireframes.
Okay. And before you get into too much detail here with your wireframe, I would just do, if you looked at some of the example projects, rough sketches of 3 user scenarios. So keep them really rough.
Yeah.
And then I think, was it just one that you have to formalize? One step? I mean, you can use a lot of these elements, I'm sure, but I feel like you should have a step in there.
Well, I have some.
Yes.
I haven't
digitize them.
It all.
Beautiful. Yeah. Those look great. That looks really great.
That's mine.
That's your thinking. Yeah, because I think this, having that in there, it really demonstrates a process. Yeah. And I think that's what makes this project look really cool, you know, is that this came from my drawing and I realized that this type of user would need to go through this type of screen. And so I was, you know what I mean? That kind of thinking is what makes this project look really impressive. Yeah.
I have my idea for this. I've been brainstorming it and gotten some written down.
Uh-huh.
Me and my boyfriend play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons and different versions of that and stuff. And I found like different apps that are for like each, like there's 5th edition and then there's Pokemon ones and then there's, you know, different ones and each one has like a separate app for it. And it's just like having all of those is such a pain in the butt.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, why can't we just get one that allows you to choose which type you're doing?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great idea. Okay. So do you understand? There a couple weeks back, I have the video posted. I can't remember the exact date, but I actually went through Project 3 and explained everything that was required. It's pretty straightforward, I think. I mean, if you look at the assignment list about what you need to do.
I've gotten an idea from what I've seen and heard
Okay.
from this as well. I actually have apps for some of them and PDFs for others, and it's like I have the 5th edition. 5th edition, I have like 3 of the 4 apps.
Okay.
For.
By the way, I'm going to jump over to Allie because I want to make sure everybody gets a chance to present. The new guy that we hired for the game position, he's like wrote part of Dungeons and Dragons. Like he was on the game development team.
Cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, like he came to interview and like the nerdy guys in my faculty group, like got things signed by him. Like they're he wrote book. I mean, I don't even understand it. I don't even understand Dungeons and Dragons.
Incredibly complicated.
It's complicated.
It's complex as all be darned.
And you know, Jan's, you know Scott Graneman, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Jan's, his business partner, has a website that's all about Dungeons and Dragons rules. And I guess it's open source material that he has all consolidated into one spot. And he earns a pretty decent income, just a revenue stream from the ads that are on the side because so many people hit this site to download these specific set of rules.
Yeah, and all of the materials that I have are because my boyfriend was like, okay, I've done all of this research and this is the best for it.
Yeah.
So on and so forth. And it's just like, I have 4 different PDFs for 4 different rule sets on my computer. And it's just like, it would be so nice
To have it consolidated.
Exactly. Like the one app that I have is a character sheet app, and you just put in the information and it keeps track of everything for you.
Well, it's interesting to me that these ideas are coming from solving a problem. You see a problem in your life, you're seeing a problem in your life, and that's like if other people have these problems, they're probably good ideas. Okay, I'm going to jump over to Allie. Can you drive over there, Jaleesa? Good.
Okay. So basically, since I had everything in Illustrator, I had to switch it all over to InDesign.
That's
So that's what I've been doing.
It's really cute and really weird.
it is cute here.
That's so funny.
The map I had originally was just all bright neon colors, but now I found this one. It looks more like kid friendly because there's faces. It's also a little creepy. Basically, mine's an interactive virtual map. So I fixed all this because my font I had before was like all caps. So
Allie, visually, this is a big improvement.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got some alignment issues. I don't know how you managed to not align it.
I don't know.
I think it's harder, but it's
know.
looking better. You're making some good improvements.
Yeah. So I took out I because I had that in there. And I like redid like my how it will function section. So I think before like I was just gonna have one map, whatever, but now I think I said there's gonna be a smaller version of the map for kids over than 6. You can use a tablet version at the desk, which is like this. So it'd be like a big map, but it'd be just on a table, like on the ground, so they can mess with that. And then down here is like a Wii controller. I think I was going to use for the bigger map to like point at instead of going out there and like using your hands. And I said that on the function part, like if any kid like tries to go up and touch it with their hands, like it won't work. And only it's gonna work with the wands or the Wii controller, because that way if some other kid is trying to like use it, some other kid can't just go up and like tap something that won't like draw them to that to use, I guess. So like only really, I think 2 kids can use it at once, but
Mm-hmm. That's cool. Okay, what do you guys think?
it's basically to get every kid to learn the 50 states, because I read that they don't really teach it anymore. It's usually not taught until 7th or 9th grade, and that's even if it's taught at all. It's kind of just not really a thing anymore. In the curriculum.
It's amazing to me to talk to people and say, well, what, like, I've had this happen here and when we lived in Boston, and I say, where are you from? And they say, name some town in Missouri or whatever. And I'm like, so is that south of here or west of here? And they're like, I'm not sure. How are you not sure? Do you not look at a map? Seriously? I can't believe this is 18-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my son, this weekend, we were like, went over to Illinois. We're like, what river are we crossing? What state are we in? He's like, wasn't sure. We're like, killed us. Seriously? You don't know what state you're in?
Like, I don't remember all of it, but I still remember, I think it was 3rd grade, the 50 Nifty United States song.
Yeah. Okay, Allie, a couple of things. I think that this is, well, does anybody want to jump in and make any comments?
Were they gonna have like a blown up screen when they hit the?
It'd be like a
states?
projected.
Were
I
they
think
gonna
it's
like light up or something?
Yeah, so it would like, I guess it'd light up wherever you point, and it would like highlight around the state, so you know which one you're looking at, and it would like make it pop out of like interesting facts, and then like what its capital is. It's in my like function, that, but kind of makes it like a more interactive map game, I guess.
Is there any sound?
But I could.
I
I was gonna have the little faces like talk. Like it would say like it is. That could be what I would do. That could be pretty cool. Yeah, maybe a little creepy, but
See, I'm getting a very,
I-
nobody else is going to get this most likely. I'm getting a very much Yoshi's Island vibe from that map.
I think that you're getting the look better.
Yeah.
Now I think you need to define, maybe draw out some user scenarios, like in your mind. A kid comes up, and I think you've thought a little bit about this. You're like, got to use the wand because you don't want competing people. So let's say I click on Illinois. The little character comes to life, maybe, and then starts talking about it and says, and we're known for this and this and this and blah, blah, blah. Ready for a selfie? You know, and
yeah.
it puts up some, you can choose a couple of different famous, maybe Chicago skyline, maybe like a farm in central Illinois. You get to pick, and you stand in front of the screen. It's behind you, and it looks like, and then those selfies kind of go like such and such visit Illinois. Da, da, da. And so in your interface design, it seems like there should be a little bit more of an interface, maybe the selfies along the bottom, or I'm not sure how you're going to integrate those.
I was gonna have like selfies like scroll across like the bottom, and like every hour they'll change out for new
Yeah.
ones.
Right,
I was thinking about that.
right.
Or you can print it out and take it home too.
Yeah, yeah. So I think just, I don't know where the touch table is coming into play there.
It'll be in the same room. I don't know where it's gonna go because I don't know if it's gonna be, but like I don't know. I don't want the littler kids to be left out, so it's gonna have like them like just have
Well-
like maybe like draw on the map or something.
Your target audience is 6 to 12. Could your 6-year-old, you have a 4-year-old, do you think a 6-year-old could use a Wiimote?
Pretty sure 4-year-old.
Yeah, so I think kill the touch table, focus on explaining how this is gonna work. Like a kid approaches the, define it a little bit more, and then you'll start to raise these questions like, it's gonna speak, is there sound? Oh, I gotta, so think about that. I think it is kind of an individual experience, but the database of selfies that are flowing through are that is what is sort of building this community. So I think it works, but I think you need a little bit more definition. Also, too, when you're introducing the project here, this is kind of your interface design. So show that later. Talk about, your set it up, nice little proposal screen, blah, blah, blah. You have all of your text in there. You're cite your sources. You've got some good statistics that help justify why you're proposing this. And then talk about how it's going to work. You might need to make a few diagrams and then go into the interface design and maybe mock up a picture of a kid in front of like a farm scene or something like that, to show us kind of what it might look like in play.
Okay. So do you think I should take the map file and do that for later?
Yes. Because this is the big reveal. We see this is maybe this is step one of what we see in the interface. These cute little guys are tempting us to click on them. And maybe they talk, they're like, hey, click on me. I'm Illinois. My capital is Springfield. And then, they say silly things and they kind of like, hey, no, click on me. And they're talking to each other. It would be really silly.
I wouldn't get rid of it. I would just move it else.
Yes, that's what we're talking about. Does anybody have any more suggestions for Allie?
I think you already kind of touched on it, but definitely just step by step how somebody would walk through this. And I mean, you can just, number one, they walk into the room, they see this, and this is where the remote controller is, and it gives us it gives them these instructions. Then step two, they pick up the remote, they point at the TV. I think that would help.
Okay.
Yeah. And I want to show you a couple of tricks in InDesign to help you with the alignment. Good. Okay. James and Jaleesa, do you guys have anything? Sure.
Also for the app, I kind of want to make an interactive story game app. I know there's a lot of them, so I'm still looking through different apps to see how I can make different.
Yeah. Lisa Brunette, she teaches in gaming. She's done a lot of mobile, like she had a really, really successful one that was like a mobile interactive narrative game. And I can find out what the name of it is, but it might be worth, you probably have ones you like that you can use for comparative purposes, but it's really successful. And her role in this whole game is, she's a writer. So she's the narrative developer. So anyway.
And there's one that I know of. I don't remember the name because it's been like months since I've heard about it, not years. But it's one where it's like when you hit next, like the text can change direction or change orientation. And so you're reading it on your phone like this, and then all of a sudden you have to turn it like this or like this, or it helps keep you invested in the story by making you have to move your frame of reference of it.
First, I changed orientation because I realized that horizontally would show like the interface better and stuff. I also changed the screen. Like at first it was kind of like a rough drawing of a river, but now I have it where it's like how to show it down here.
Yeah, it's hard to see on the screen, but if you guys want to see, well, you can see it on your screens by looking at that.
Well, I put an actual picture, like map of a lake, because I want it to be a lake and bodies of water. So it's actual drawing, and I wanted to have saturated colors where you can get like bright colors. You can still see the progress of them with the different with the dots on the screen. And up here, I also explained that the colors of both match the dot colors, so that the people who are watching can know who's winning and where they are, the name of the body of water that they're on, and then it just has two of them up here, and then it has the name. Down here is the whole name of the bit is on the wall.
What do you guys think? what I really is it cool to me to see is like we've just really watched this evolve, and you've made some tweaks each week, and it's just getting better and better. So I really like it. I think that the change that the screens, the final screens showing the 2 point of views is a great idea. On the left, is there any way we can tell which boat, which perspective, if we were standing, you know, because if I have my virtual reality headset, I'm seeing my point of view if I'm like rowing. But for the audience, the screen on the left is going to toggle between different points of view. I would just maybe indicate which point of view we're seeing. Is this the purple boat, the yellow boat, blah, blah, blah. Maybe it's, maybe there's some kind of a dot or reference or something that indicates which point of view that we're seeing.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
I guess actually, at first originally like in the actual game the boats are just gonna be brown, I guess, and in real life they'll be colored. But I guess I could. It's like you can know who it is. I can make them colored.
yeah, I mean, like.
Or just do a band at the top of that screen that's like boat 1, and it's like a purple band. You know, so we understand that that's associated, that this point of view that we're looking at is the purple boat. Something that is, if I'm a bystander, we can understand what we're looking at. And then I was just going to say one more thing. It feels like your 2 columns, I mean, it looks nice what you've done, but the 2 columns look uneven. It feels like the second column is squished or something.
Yeah, it's because of this type of letter right here.
Yeah.
It comes out further than the rest of I was playing around with that for a while, but I was like, I can't.
Yeah, I mean, you've squished down your pictures so much, they're hard to see, and you did a lot of work on these too. I think I would display them larger, especially with this image right here feels so big compared to the, like, you put them in as like little thumbnails, and it's like these are the main images that are helping me explain your game.
Yeah.
So don't squish them too much. You might need to put this on the second page.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you have any thoughts over there, James?
The only thing that I was going to say is I didn't hear, but you have the touch controls, and I see a picture of a guy holding those controls. Would the controls be built into the boat when you actually hold them?
No. They're no.
I think it would be some type of an oar that would be somehow tracked, you know, in terms of, you know, how you're positioning the oar, how fast you paddle, and then the interactive experience will respond to that. So it would probably be some type of custom wiring sensor device. Again,
well, I foresee like two handles coming out of the canoe.
Mm-hmm.
They're just handles. There's not an extension of the paddle, and those are actually the controls instead of like free controls. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think if you identified in that would help. I like the picture. I get it from the picture, but I can't imagine my hands being out here to do oar movements. You know what I mean?
You might just want to crop that picture so you're only seeing the headset. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wanted the players to be able to like make gestures to each other before the race starts to like kind of competitive. So I wanted it to kind of be free, but then when they're pushing buttons, they're on the oar, and it just moves like with them right there, kind of like the lead, like where you like make the like motion.
Mm-hmm.
The little words at the side, like the overview, I don't know, it just like looks awkward with that W like hanging underneath of it, and like the O looks like it's sitting like spaced above it. You see what I'm talking about? Yeah, this kind of looks a little weird. I don't know if you can make it a little bit smaller so it can all like just like a line straight or something.
That's the design choice.
Yeah.
Well, Jaleesa, I think we're talking about minor tweaks here.
Yeah.
I think you did a really good job with this. Oh no, it's okay. I'm not really crazy about this treatment either, to be honest with you. But you know, it seems like that should be more of like it just feels a little busy and fussy and over-designed. That's all. I sounded like Tim Gunn. And I'm not talking about anything about the overall the project, just that little treatment of type right there.
Yeah, I didn't think it like that. I think it was like, I was trying to make them vertically aligned, the font made it look like that, and I was like, well, that could work.
I think it's a parent header to everything underneath, and it gets a little bit lost down there. So it's not really serving much of a function, and I don't even think you need it. I think you could just kill it.
Yeah, especially now that I have like pages.
Yeah, it's pretty apparent what is what here. Miss Pamela,
Yes.
do you want to present anything?
Well,
Oh wait, go ahead.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Sure.
Are the project 3 due on Thursday? Are we still following through with that?
Oh shit, I forgot about that. That's the end of you guys. You guys are more on top of the deadlines as me. I don't see like people are ready for that. I think that we should. Let's see. I think that next week is the last week of classes, right?
Yeah.
So I think we need to do a final critique on Tuesday, and then they can come in, you know, anytime before Friday for a final grading.
Okay. That's good.
I know it's getting late, and I haven't. I've been kind of letting people keep making improvements to projects, so I haven't really even touched project 2, grading that.
So you're saying everything's due May 11th, the Friday?
Yes.
By midnight?
Oh, then I can't get started grading. How about the 10th?
Okay.
Let's say everything is due on the 10th. I'm going to change the app design project to be due, but I want people to do some critiques on it. So I'm changing it right now. I don't know if you probably can't see my screen. So it will be due May 10th at midnight. And then all of your scavenger hunt things, I was fairly caught up, but now I see I have a bunch to grade. I thought I had done all of the first part of the term, but I have a few that have trickled in here. And project 2's, I see that I've got Jaleesa's, Allie, Brian, Alex Harlow, Adama, James. Okay. I just am not sure if you're going to keep making any changes to things. I know Allie probably will. Jaleesa may or may not. I don't know. Can't even remember. You're done. Yeah, you're done. So I'll communicate with you through Canvas and see if you want me to grade it. But I really want these to be good portfolio pieces. You with me, James?
Yeah, and are you going to have one more session Thursday morning? This Thursday?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It'll be online only. And I think 9 o'clock is totally fine. I just volunteered to go to the zoo with my son's class, but I think that's a little bit later. So I think we're good.
Okay.
This Thursday and then next Tuesday.
Yes. Yes. And then if anybody needs anything after next Tuesday, you know, even any time between now and then, I can do a one-on-one thing. So, did you want to present something?
yeah, so I'm still I'm trying to figure out how to visually represent this. So what this is coming down to is a exhibit on physics and specifically sound.
Yeah.
And so it's sound waves frequency, and there's going to be an explanation. And one of the first things that you'll see is a quote from Tesla, which is, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And so let's start out with Tesla's plates. So he has a plate, and I got visual representation of this, that just is I think it's open source. I think anybody can make this. It's fairly simple. It's a plate that vibrates based on frequency, and as it vibrates, there's a sprinkling of salt over it, and then the salt creates different patterns based on the frequency. So what this all is about is trying to make something like the wind visual. So there'll be a section there that explains the concept of sound, that sound is a thing, it's a real thing, it's just you can't see it. It's like the wind. And then it explains how it's going through the air all the time. So that'd be one section. Then the next section is, and I probably have to see this, is the idea of having this big wall that's just dark. And then someone can touch the wall with the palm of their hand, and when they do, the pulse of their body will start to be represented as light. And the lights will come out of the tips of the fingers on the wall. And then it will, as it's pulsating, it will do a murmuration like birds. So it'll start to, so it'll start to flow and then go around, and so it's an opportunity for a child to see how their pulse would be visualized and then go across the room like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then there'll be another, like a plate where they can stand on it, make motion, and there'll be a visual representation of that. And then there'll be, and perhaps moving their arms so that there's wind, that'd be another one. And then the final one would be talking into a device that would be your name. And then your name would be represented probably in sound waves.
This is a whole room you're designing.
Correct. It's turned into a whole room. So that, and then there'll be a moment where there'll be a snapshot of the pictures of the child saying the name, and then the representation of the wave up here, and that can be emailed home.
Mm-hmm. What do you guys think?
It's really good.
Your illustration is really beautiful.
Thank you.
I mean, I love.
When I saw this, it's a little girl drawing. She looked like me when I was little.
It does kind of look like you,
It was
actually. This is all about how you frame it. You know,
right.
This is about. Do you know what I mean? Like the visual. I like this starting with a quote, and this is a series of 3 interactive visualizations that help communicate abstract concepts such as energy, pitch, sound, you know what I mean?
I know some brilliant people, and no one is an expert in physics. Not one. And physics is, I think, among the most interesting of the sciences because it goes into the concept of the Earth's creation and what we are all comprised of.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you think about, like, I had an argument with Scott about, the concept of, really shocking, right? About the concept of vibration. So every molecule has atoms in it that are moving all the time. Yeah. So everything is energy and movement, and that has to matter when you're standing here in this world and you're being bombarded with energy. So some is good energy, some is not good. But anyway, I think it's a fascinating science, and so this started a million years ago. I was in a band. Did I tell the story already? Mm-hmm. I was in a band, and we were a house band at a really kind of shady hotel. Actually, the hotel was gorgeous at one time, and then it sort of, and there were, strange women that would be there. So anyway, and there would be arrests and all kinds of interesting things. So one night, my bandmate, I get there, and my bandmate goes, "Look around." So I'm looking around, and everybody's doing sign language.
Oh, you told us this story. Yeah.
So the point is that, there's this whole concept of making sound visual has been kind of an interest to me. And then there are already, like you can spend, a couple $1,000s on a light show for your band, plugs into the microphone, and, with the highs and lows of the frequency, it'll have a different light display. So there's already been some, practical purposes to make light or to make sound visual. Mm-hmm. But I like the idea of teaching it, since it seems to be a science that's kind of been looked at sideways.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think these are going to be very engaging experiences. I mean, you look at some of the things that are they're not necessarily educational. Yours is educational, but in a very abstract sort of experiential way.
And that's okay, because it's like planting seeds, right?
Yeah. But I mean, like those things where it's like all of those pins come out and you press your impression
Yeah.
into them.
I
That's
like those.
endlessly entertaining.
Endlessly.
And so something like this, I mean, I could see it being very, very engaging.
Yeah.
And
That's my
saying
thought.
your name, you know, of course, kids are gonna be like, poop, poop, you know, like they'll have a blast. Yeah.
My son's new one is booty.
Booty. Booty. Yeah.
And how many people is going to break out into song? That's what I would do.
So this is all about how you present it. It's going to be a set of 3 experiences,
Mhm.
and just the way that you're describing, you just need to kind of package it all together for us. But it's cool. I like the idea.
And I'm finding, you know, and this is always my sticking point is the illustrations. I end up wanting to make them, you know, I can't just.
Yeah.
So.
Well, start to build the framework, and then you're
It's just-
you're already taking on more than is really required for this but
That's
these
me, because I
experiences.
had to have a good idea.
Yeah, I know. So the idea is the hardest thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me stop the broadcast.